Doing promotional interviews is standard procedure for A-list actors, but Robert Downey Jr. had enough. During a sit-down with Channel 4 in the UK for the new Avengers movie, the actor became irritated by questions about politics and his history of drug use. Just take a look.
That's the nice thing, is you can have opinions and they kind of change and flow.
Robert Downey Jr. has become a vocal critic of what he perceives as the excesses of woke culture in Hollywood, stirring significant debate within the entertainment industry and among fans. His comments reflect a broader conversation about the balance between social responsibility and artistic freedom.
Darling, Nope, Rings of Power, Bros, Woman King, She-Hulk, Turning Red from Disney, The Little Mermaid, Baymax. It's like they are nearly incapable of making a film without putting this into it. And when people recognize it and they call it out, they bully the consumers into submission on this. We heard Viola Davis say in reference to Woman King,
if you don't come see it, then you're sending a message that black women cannot lead the box office globally, that you are supporting that narrative.
What do you think about this new form of marketing, which is essentially just this bulldogging and bullying of the American market into watching movies?
Well, I think it's a good way to end your industry. One of the monikers you hear, well, we want to make a product that reflects the world we actually live in. But what the truth of that is, it's the Los Angeles we actually live in, not the rest of the world.
Downey Jr. stands as one of the most successful and cherished actors of his generation, largely due to his iconic portrayal of Iron Man. His charismatic and multifaceted performance as Tony Stark not only redefined the superhero genre, but also laid the groundwork for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, captivating audiences worldwide.
I am Iron Man.
No problem trusting Jon Favreau. His films Zathura and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang came out on the same weekend and tanked. And I think we were both really hungry to try to reestablish ourselves as a formidable duo, albeit individually. Again, just like Attenborough, his endorsement of me to play that character. And then Kevin Feige having the wherewithal to say, okay, bit of a risk, let's do it. We like risk. Wound up being, a life-changing 15 years.
Downey Jr.'s remarkable journey, marked by personal struggles and triumphant comebacks, further enhances his relatability and endears him to fans, solidifying his legacy as a transformative figure in modern cinema.
You know, I've been speaking to Downey a lot, especially about him making his return, which is super exciting. That was a tough secret to sit on, because I have a reputation for ruining things.
However, Downey Jr. is indeed known for his candid nature. In a recent interview, when asked about his political beliefs and other probing questions about the increasing popularity of woke culture in Hollywood, he decided to leave the interview. This isn't the first time he's been vocal about his views. For instance, he has previously shared that his time in prison significantly shaped his political outlook, making him more conservative.
What are we doing?
Well, I'm just asking questions, that's all.
Right.
Okay, that's okay.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Are you... Oh, I'm sorry. Take your mic.
It's okay.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you...
You seem okay, it's just getting a little dinosaur in your...
No, look, I don't want to do that.
Downey is not the only one to speak about these ideologies. Richard Dreyfuss has also been quite vocal about his views on this popularizing culture. In a recent interview, he criticized Hollywood's inclusion standards, calling them patronizing and stating that they make me want to vomit. He argued that these standards treat people like children and stifle creativity and debate. Dreyfuss has also expressed concerns about the impact of woke culture on free speech and the arts.
To be eligible for the Academy Awards for Best Picture, they'll have to have a certain percentage of actors or crew from underrepresented racial and ethnic groups. What do you think of these new inclusion standards for films?
They make me vomit.
Why?
Because this is an art form. It's also a form of commerce, and it makes money, but it's an art. And no one should be telling me as an artist that I have to give in to the latest, most current idea of what morality is.
Yo, he is right.
why.
Elon Musk has recently popularized the term woke mind virus. He uses it to describe what he sees as overly progressive cultural influences that he believes negatively impact society and media. Musk has been vocal about his opposition to these trends, often criticizing them on social media and in interviews.
Ron DeSantis' whole shtick as governor of Florida and presidential hopeful is that he is against the woke, against wokeness. And now he's pushing the idea of some kind of, quote, woke mind virus, a phrase popularized, of course, by his pal, the billionaire chief twit, Elon Musk. Musk has been pushing the idea of a woke mind virus for nearly 18 months now. And yet this is the best he could come up with to describe his boogeyman, even in the friendliest of interviews.
I think we need to be very cautious about anything that is anti-meritocratic and anything that is that results in the suppression of free speech. Those are two of the aspects of the woke mind virus that I think are very dangerous.
Nice and vague. Look, maybe, just maybe, if you cannot coherently define the woke mind virus that you've been obsessing over for a year or more, perhaps you were the one who's got it.
Dr. Phil has expressed differing views on certain social issues, particularly regarding woke culture. He has voiced concerns about what he perceives as an overreach of cancel culture and the potential downsides of some of the ideologies linked to this movement. Specifically, Dr. Phil has cautioned against prioritizing inclusivity and diversity at the expense of meritocracy and personal accountability. Hollywood has long been accused of spreading controversial subliminal messages, and now some critics believe Disney movies have indeed been a topic of debate when it comes to their influence on children. Some people believe that Disney movies can negatively impact children by promoting unrealistic beauty standards, gender stereotypes, and materialism. Critics argue that these movies often portray princesses as needing to be saved by a prince, which can send mixed messages about independence and self-worth.
Disney simply refuses to stop trying to indoctrinate your children. Absolutely unbelievable.
That Agatha is the gayest project Marvel has ever done. Agree?
I would agree with that, yeah.
Why is it?
You'll see. You'll see when you watch it. But, I think witches are queer inherently just because we are outcast and, set aside for many reasons. And I think this show shows a really good representation of different types of people, and that we can all use the power we have within to go forth and be great.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Make sure to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't yet, subscribe or follow down below for more daily news.
Hollywood has long been rumored to have ties to secretive and controversial societies like the Illuminati, sparking countless conspiracy theories. These claims often suggest that many of the industry's most influential figures are part of a hidden elite that controls global entertainment and media. The idea of Hollywood being linked to the Illuminati stems from the fascination with power, symbolism, and influence that surrounds major celebrities and entertainment moguls.
If you thought the secret religion of Hollywood was interesting, wait until you watch this. Forget everything you've ever been told about the Illuminati and research these names I'm about to show you. This is the rabbit hole you're going to want to go down. This is Theodore Rouse, the founder of the Thelemite order known as OTO or Ordo Template Orientis. Look up the term World League of Illuminati. I'll link the full link in the comments, but pause to read. This is the symbol of OTO. As you can see, Theodore Rouse tied with Aleister Crowley, who significantly shaped the OTO and later resurfaced Ordo Illuminatorium, also known as the Order of the Illuminati. This is a list of all of their degrees. Perfect Pontiff of the Illuminati. OTO, as you can see, not a Masonic body. No ties to Freemasonry. Look into these names and his. They thought they were gods. This is Hermann Joseph Metzger. He ran the new Order of Illuminati, the subsect of OTO, making this woman the successor.
In recent years, the concept of woke culture has been linked to these conspiracy theories. Some believe that the promotion of social justice and inclusivity is a front for a more sinister agenda, likening it to a satanic cult. This modern satanic panic echoes the moral panics of the 1980s, where fears of satanic rituals and child abuse were widespread.
Men do not menstruate. Only women menstruate. Now, you can call yourself
Cis men
whatever you
don't
want.
menstruate, but trans men do menstruate.
No,
Same
they
as
don't.
non-binary people.
Only women.
Menstruating is not exclusive
Yes,
to
it
cis
is.
women. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
So explain to me as to why my body
if you are,
menstruated at
if
some
your
point
chromosomes are XX and you're young, you menstruate. If you're XY, you don't.
Correct, but what about trans men and non-binary?
They're
We're
not men.
excluding a whole group of people
They're
here
women
that
dressed
menstruate.
as men.
Well, what's a man to you? You define a man for me.
You have chromosomes that are X and Y. That's what a man is.
So why are we just looking at the science of this as an
The
example
science.
when we've learned sex and gender identity are they're completely different things.
They're not completely different
They are
things.
completely different.
Completely different words.
Sex is what you're born with, the sexual reproductive organs you have. Gender is what you identify with. They're completely
Well, I don't
different
accept that
things.
distinction. You have to argue for it. You're just giving a conclusion. You're just making it up.
If the family falls apart and starts to erode, then I think everything falls behind that. I think it all goes down the tubes if the family falls apart.
Yeah, I mean, you call the book We've Got Issues, How You Can Stand Strong for America's Soul and Sanity. People talk about artificial intelligence, so we can come to that. They talk about climate change. They talk about these things which could be an existential threat to the world. How big a threat do you think to people's well-being, particularly young people, is the cell phone?
I think it's probably the biggest change we've faced since the Industrial Revolution. The biggest change, and I know the Industrial Revolution can be divided up in maybe 3 or 4 industrial revolutions.
Douglas Murray, a British author and commentator, has offered a critical perspective on the concept of woke culture. In his book, The Madness of Crowds, Gender, Race and Identity, Murray describes woke as a utopian ideology that categorizes individuals based on gender, orientation and race. He argues that this ideology aims to dismantle capitalism and freedom, and it often leads to division and groupthink.
That they believe, for instance, that being a woman should be merely the first step in a wider mission to bring down capitalism. Now, I don't think most women are on board with that, and most women would be rather surprised to be utilized in this fashion. But that is very clearly and explicitly, and I quote the various scholars and writers who've been pushing this for years, this is explicitly the aim. It's a basis for madness. When people say the gay community, who are you talking about? It's like women think this. Oh, really? 50% of the species all agree on something. Blacks say this. Really? Now, this is, let me put it another way. If somebody said, I don't know, I just love the working class. Who?
Yeah.
I just love the middle class. Who? I love the upper class. Who are you talking about? And it's the same with this. Why would we be falling for this interpretation of society as depending solely or primarily on interest groups based on gender/sex, sexual orientation, race, and a bit more?
Murray criticizes the woke mindset for being self-righteous and judgmental, focusing on a narrow set of social justice issues while ignoring historical progress and achievements. He believes that this ideology exaggerates contemporary problems and oppression, leading to a regressive and counterproductive society.
Why would we be doing that? Why would we be taking the individualism out of individuals and lumping them in these demonstrably incoherent bodies that don't even exist? They don't even exist. The LGBT community, take me to your leader. Come on. And it's why, as I say, you can always predict exactly who is going to latch onto the latest claim. When, for instance, the big bearded man with male genitalia wins the women's weightlifting competition, you can predict with 100% accuracy who is going to say, yeah, what's the problem with that? And the people who are going to say, I'm not sure Clive the big weightlifter should be winning the women's category. You can predict it. And the people who say, why have you got a problem with that, bigot?
Piers Morgan has indeed been vocal about his views on transgender issues, particularly in the context of prisons. He has argued that allowing male prisoners to self-identify as female and be placed in women's prisons can lead to exploitation and increased crime rates.
Okay, why can't I identify as a black lesbian?
Well, firstly, I mean, it was.
Well, I'm serious. I'm serious. If I can identify as anything without any need to prove I'm actually what that is, why can't I, on International Women's Day, say I'm Piers Morgan, I'm a black lesbian?
I think taking it to a kind of absurd status.
I think
we're
that's
talking
what.
About quite a
with
strong
respect, I think that
change.
you'd already opened the absurdity door by saying it is limitless. You can do what you like. Anyone can say I'm a woman. So I simply ask you, why can't I?
I mean, this point kind of ridicules trans people to an extent.
Actually, I think what you said ridicules trans people.
Morgan has cited cases where individuals who were biologically male but identified as female were accused of committing crimes against women in these facilities.
It's not difficult, is it, Angelica? I mean, that is what a woman is.
I mean, I don't know why you're obsessed with defining it. Like, what is a man? Like, why do we need these arbitrary...
A man is a male adult human. I mean, that's it.
Right, okay, I don't know that we need
these are just biological facts, but they're just facts. They're not arguable points, are they?
Well, but I think we have a right to self-identify, and you said
As
you
what?
want to...
As what?
If
Well, hang
you'd
on.
like to be a woman, you can identify as a woman. I don't know why there is such an issue around
We've
it.
literally just seen a male rapist use that scam to get himself put into a female prison where he could attack vulnerable women inside a female prison, when even his ex-wife said it was all a scam.
Which is a terrible, very distressing, isolated incident, and I think it's easy to take that and say that means that no one can identify as a woman, and
But
that's
it's not an
that's
isolated
fair.
incident, though.
But it's
42% of trans-identifying prisoners in prison are in there for sex crimes. There's actually an advantage.
This perspective has sparked significant debate, with some agreeing that there are legitimate safety concerns, while others argue that such views can stigmatise and harm the transgender community. It's a complex issue that requires careful consideration of both safety and human rights.
Because actually people who go through the full process of transition, who actually go through what we used to call a sex change, which I don't think you can muck around with original biology, but those who actually go through surgical procedure over a number of years, I've got great respect for that very difficult journey they go on. I have zero respect for people who just wallop their hand up and go, suddenly, I'm a woman and I want all the rights that a woman has, and I want to compete, say in sport, I'm a 6'4" athlete, sprinter, swimmer, whatever, who's competed very mediocrely in male sport. I now want to come in and crush women in swimming pools and in sprinting events and break all their records, perhaps irrevocably, just by saying, I'm a woman. I think that is the absurdity you were talking about.
However, a significant number of Hollywood celebrities have voiced their support for woke culture, viewing it as a necessary step towards social progress. These advocates argue that addressing issues like racial inequality, gender representation, and LGBTQ+ rights in media reflects a more inclusive and equitable society.
I don't know Taylor Swift, so of course I can't sit here and say this is definitely what she did. But my gut feeling is that someone somewhere, or maybe on Twitter, I don't know, we all know what Twitter's like, everyone's got something to say. Someone said something that has said, oh, this is slut shaming or whatever, and she's had to go back, obviously given that the majority of her fans are likely young women, and you know, it's very prevalent today that slut shaming is apparently a bad thing. So she's gone back and changed it, I think, to fit the current pop culture norm. I personally think if you're an artist, just own what you said. Like you said, we all say things that, you know, in 10, 20 years, it might be completely outrageous.
They believe that incorporating these themes into films and television helps challenge outdated stereotypes and broadens the perspectives showcased on screen. For many, this cultural shift represents positive progression as it encourages dialogue, awareness, and a more diverse range of stories that resonate with today's audience.
You need to surround yourself with people who are going to stimulate, inspire, and lift you up, who are going to give you energy and not take energy away from you. And if you're around people who are taking energy away from you, that's an energy drain, and that is the sign from your instinct, your inner voice, your intuition to say, let them go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Despite pushback from critics who feel this movement limits creative freedom, these celebrities continue to champion the cause, seeing it as a way to use their platform for greater social change.
Well, Robert Downey Jr., just from Tropic Thunder, think about that. You could never do that anymore. You can't have blackface anymore.
Yeah, you know what? I'll say this. There are real people out there that really mean you harm. Whatever you are, whether you're black, you're white, you're straight, you're gay, whatever it is. There's some people who really don't like. We're the entertainment. We're easy targets. It's easy for you to jump on Robert Downey Jr. or Jamie Foxx or Joe, when it's real things, which, whether it's politics or whether it's whatever, a lot of times we're not ready for that fight. But it's easy to sort of pick the comedian. I called Robert. I said, listen, I need you to play a Mexican. He says, dude, here's the deal. Sure. Sure, why not? Sure, of course.
However, some critics argue that many celebrities support the woke movement primarily as a means to stay relevant in an ever-changing cultural landscape. These critics believe that by aligning themselves with progressive social causes, stars can maintain their public image and appeal to younger, more socially conscious audiences.
But your expertise and opinions are as valid as a drunk spewing politics as he's falling off his stool at a local burp and fart bar. It's no coincidence for decades we've seen a pattern of our former A-listers who suddenly turn into political commentators once they become a has-been. It's the pipeline from washed up to woke.
You get the paparazzi, that's why we all do charity. You know that. That's why all the celebrities do charity, because you get your picture in the paper, they take your picture. He said to me, you go and you do something, it's like a win-win, you help some asshole, who gives a but you get your, well, come on. That's what it's all about.
So Madonna suddenly became British, then Jewish, then turned her house into a multicultural rainbow by adopting some children from the most exotic places she could find.
According to this view, celebrities may publicly endorse woke ideals, not out of genuine belief, but as a strategic move to remain in the spotlight and avoid backlash.
I love babies, but I especially love getting babies from crazy places. And Malawi is pretty much the most exotic place in the world to get a baby. A fancy, spicy brown baby.
Anything to be hip and different, because being a girl born and raised in Bay City, Michigan apparently wasn't enough. And when she still couldn't stay relevant, she became a DHS case.
Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Bette Midler realized she's only remembered once a year, so she downgraded from Hollywood sets to homemade videos.
Justice Thomas, it's distressing, the sins you ain't confessing. We saw you on the plane.
What are your thoughts on Robert Downey Jr.'s bold stance against woke Hollywood? Drop your opinions in the comments below.